What's up, everyone? My name is Aaron Oster. I am a #1 best-selling author on Amazon, and as you can see, I am trying way too hard. This being my second video, I tried to rig up some sort of backdrop over here, but didn't really work out as I'd planned. But, you guys just let me know if you like it down in the comments. If not, I can attempt something next time. So I'd like to talk about something very near and dear to my heart, and that is how I got started writing, my journey, and how you too can get started. It's a lot easier than you might think, and while a lot of people might think that writing is extremely daunting, all it takes is to just get started. So with that said, let's get right into it. To begin our story, we have to go back all the way to the year of 2007, when I was nothing more than a little boy with no real idea of what I wanted to do with my life, because who knows what you want to do when you're 12? I had a teacher, and he was extremely strict when it came to grading any sort of papers. I remember literally any work that I do, he'd always grade me at a B-, and from there, it sort of went down. He never gave anything higher than a B+. And I think over there is where I first discovered my love of writing. I'd always enjoyed reading as a child. I picked up my first fantasy books really around the age of 8 or 9. And as soon as I read my first fantasy book, which was Redwall by Brian Jakes, loved that book, I was completely hooked. I read every single one of his books, and then I moved on to a lot of the more well-known authors, J.K. Rowling, Christopher Paolini, Rick Riordan. I really enjoyed all their work as a kid, and as I grew older, I continued to explore my love of reading. To get into high school, I had to write an admittance letter because I went to private school because of religious reasons, but that's completely besides the point. What happened was that on my first day in class, my English teacher called me over and he said that he'd read my admittance letter, and he said that was the entire reason that I had gotten into the school. He told me that he was in tears. Now, obviously, as a 14-year-old kid, that was morbidly embarrassing. I had no idea what to say, but he was the first person who really put the idea into my head that I should write. I should be a writer when I grew up. Now, of course, me being me, I said, who wants
to read stuff that I write anyway? Well, what do I really have to offer? Who'd be interested in reading my books? I don't have that kind of talent.
And for years, I really didn't do anything. I went through high school, I didn't actually graduate, and I went straight into the work world. I decided college isn't for me. I never had the patience to sit in a classroom. So I went straight off to work. It was only after I had gone into the workforce at the ripe old age of 17 that I discovered that I truly hated working for other people. I loathed being on other people's schedules. I hated having to do what other people told me. I just really did not enjoy constantly having a boss. It felt like I was in school all over again with someone else telling me what to do. I'd left school, finally had the freedom of being an adult, and now I was stuck taking orders from someone else. My parents basically told me, welcome to the adult world. This is what happens when you graduate without a diploma, you don't go to college, and you just go straight into the work world. This is bound to happen. And for a few years, I bounced around through a few odd jobs and pretty much hated everything that I did. It was only a few years later when I decided I was going to start working for my father and become a photographer that I really got to start exploring my artistic side. The biggest problem that I had with photography wasn't actually taking pictures, but my father was a wedding photographer, and the social aspect of photography just really didn't go over well with me. I am an extreme introvert. I don't enjoy going out. I don't enjoy going into public. I don't like hanging out and I don't really have all that many friends. When I went into the photography world, I was kind of overwhelmed by all the people. I had to constantly be social, especially when it came to posing and telling people what to do, and that really just didn't work for me. And after about a year and a half, I finally gave up and said, I can't do this anymore. I was out of work for a few months, and I wasn't exactly very happy. But a few months later, I finally found myself another job, and that would be the job that I'd hold out for the longest, and that was reselling used smartphones on eBay. So I called someone up, he was looking to hire someone, and I got the job. And it wasn't a great job. I didn't enjoy it all that much. My boss was a bit controlling, but he was a very nice guy all the same, but the job was very monotonous. There wasn't really a lot of room for creativity. It was really boring. But it was at that job where I really started listening to a lot of audiobooks. Now, I'd always enjoyed listening to audiobooks before because it allowed me the freedom to do other things while I was enjoying a book, so to speak, and didn't tie me down and have me just sitting in one place for hours on end. But it was only in that job that I really got to listen to a lot of audiobooks for just hours on end because the work was just so monotonous. I could kind of just tune out and listen to a book. And it was there where I discovered my first book in the lit RPG genre. Now, for those of you who don't know what lit RPG is, it's basically a fantasy book set in the realm of a video game. Think Ready Player One, but set in a medieval world with swords and magic and everything along those lines. And after listening to those books for almost 2 years, I finally decided in 2018, towards the end, it was August, that I was going to sit down and write that book. I spent about 4 months. I would sit down every single day, just for hours on end, just planning, carefully building up the world, painting the characters, and writing it all out in as much detail as I possibly could. And then when I was finally finished writing the first draft, I went over and rewrote everything, and I edited that book myself. I honestly don't even know how many hours upon hours I spent staring at that screen writing my first book. And when I was finally finished, I went onto Shutterstock, found myself a halfway decent image, got a family member to help me with some Photoshop, and then with about 2 days of warning, I stuck it right up on KDP, that's Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing, and published the book. I'm not really sure what I was expecting, but as you can guess, I sold a grand total of 30 copies to friends and family. It was absolutely devastating to see all that work just disappear. All that time just gone. And for about 3 months, I just gave up. I said, clearly I'm not meant to be a writer. Nobody wants to read my stuff. And really, what's the point? How do authors even make their money? But after a while, I just had an idea bouncing around in my head, and I really couldn't keep it in anymore. So this time I decided to go about things a little differently. I hired a good cover artist. That is something that you need when you're going to write anything, especially on a massive platform like Kindle. So I found a cover artist, I sent him an email. It cost me $520, which at the time was a lot of money for me. It took me weeks to save that money up just to be able to afford that cover. I got some help from someone to actually edit my book, just to have someone else take a look at my book, do the editing, because I was too close to the book and I obviously wasn't going to see all of my own mistakes. All told, the entire thing cost me about $1,700 and took me roughly 4.5 months just to save up the money to be able to pay for it. I opened up an Instagram account and started hyping my book about 2 months before the release. I spend hours every single day on social media just talking to people, letting them know all about my book, showing off my cover. I joined some that's game literature, Facebook groups to talk over there and promote my work once it came out. And lo and behold, my release date came February 22nd, and I put this book, Super Mage, out for the first time. I'd put it up for a pre-order, and I had 72 pre-orders, which was twice as many books as I had sold of my previous one. Now, I was thrilled about that, and once the book came out, people started reading pages on Kindle Unlimited. Now, the way that works is that Amazon has a subscription service where you can basically borrow books for a certain set fee every month, and if you as a writer enroll your book in their program, you get paid for every page read. Now, it's not a ton of money. It's about 4/10 of a cent. And obviously, if you buy the ebook, you're going to be giving the author more money than if you read it on Kindle Unlimited. But the bulk of my income does come through Kindle Unlimited. Now, on my first day, my book had 10,000 Kindle Unlimited page reads, which was absolutely astonishing to me. I could hardly believe it. My book dropped all the way down to, I think, 2,200 in the Kindle store, which is really, really good, considering that my last book never even cracked 100,000. Over the next few days, I watched my sales kind of move up and down. I sold between 20 to 30 books every day, and my Kindle page reads kept slowly going up. One day it was 20,000, the next it was 30, the day after that it was 40, and every day I'd watch as my seller ranking inched down. By Friday afternoon, before I turned my phone off, my seller ranking was around 1,400, and I was desperately hoping that it would drop lower, my sales would increase, and things would do well. And I shut my phone off for Saturday, and I was obviously sitting on my hands the whole day, just hoping that the book would do well. And when I opened my phone Saturday night, I received the biggest shock of my life. I found that my book had dropped all the way down to 550 in the Kindle store, and that I had over 100,000 page reads and about 80 books sold. Even now, just remembering it still seems surreal. And over the next week, my sales just kept going up and up and up. And before the book started going back up in the Kindle store, it had dropped all the way down to number 125 in the entire store. To date, Super Mage has sold nearly 50,000 copies, and here I am, just still not believing that I can do this for a living. And that first book that I wrote that did horrible, well, I republished it 6 months later. I got a new cover, new editor, and I have sold over 10,000 copies of this book. So if someone who never thought that he could ever get this far as a writer, could do it, then you can write too. If you have an idea and you really want to write, don't let anything get in your way, especially you. Don't talk yourself out of it. Sit down, start writing. With all of that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It might be a bit long, and I might have gone on a few rants along the way, but hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you want to know anything else, just feel free to ask me down in the comments. Message me on Instagram. If there's anything else you'd like me to talk about, just let me know. Also, down in the comments. So just, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe, tell your friends about the channel, tell them about my books. And I will hopefully see you guys next time.